Everyone's talking about AI replacing jobs, but underneath that conversation is a much deeper question. Who are we when work changes? In this episode, Stacy and I move beyond the technology and into something much more personal. We talk about the mental discipline required to reinvent yourself later in life, why uncertainty demands intentional habits, and why the future isn't just an AI challenge, it's an identity challenge. If you've ever questioned your purpose, wondered how to navigate change, or felt the pressure of redefining yourself in a rapidly changing world, this conversation will remind you that the biggest transformation isn't happening in technology, it's happening within us. But doing it at this age, I really have had to do some mental health work and work
Oh,
on
for sure.
myself. Um, because at a young age, when I did it for a company, I'm following their processes. I'm not designing my own processes. So
Mhm,
that's way easier. When
mhm.
I started my first company doing the social media consulting, I took what I had learned from working for others as a hunter, and I just threw myself in anything and everything, right?
Mhm.
I was
I remember,
um,
yeah,
whatever you need me to be, I will be.
yeah,
And I can't do that now.
yeah,
I don't have the energy, but I also want to really be who I am and not who others want me to be, which
100%.
requires me to figure out who I am.
Oh, that's the hard part, isn't it? Yeah, I hear you. And I'm glad you mentioned, managing your mind. I don't think you worded it that way, but I am spending a lot of time managing my mind because it is scary. I on purpose left a good paying job to go out on my own at this age in this economy with AI taking our jobs. And so I've had to really manage my mind. I have a things I do in the evening and in the morning. It's gratitude practice, it's affirmations, it's visualizations, it's exercise, it's journaling, it's meditating, and that helps a lot. So I think that's something that people need to keep in mind when they're in a sort of uncertain state, is to just keep the energy and the mind going in the right direction.
I think everybody needs to start thinking of themselves as leaders no matter what.
Yes.
Um, but AI is not I don't even know if it's the biggest disruption. We have a global change happening right now. We have a war. Everybody keeps talking about a crash, economic crash coming. And I saw the numbers today of what's behind those predictions, and it seems pretty convincing. A new economic crash is coming. We have a lot of people who are the movers and shakers in AI, if you will, talking about universal basic income is going to be needed. And
Mhm.
then that's a whole identity crisis if they're just giving us money. Everybody's like, yay, great, give me money for free. But no, that's an identity crisis. So it's a lot more than just learning AI that we're facing right now.
That that's a great point. And yeah, the universal basic income, if 50% of the population is out of work or 25% or whatever, I think it's a necessity. I think, European countries would jump on that bandwagon a whole lot faster than the United States of America. Especially with the current administration, I honestly don't see it happening. I think it should. But to your point, if it did, that would bring in a whole host of other issues. Like, who am I? What's my purpose? Why am I here? Which those kinds of existential things are huge and need to be, I don't know, grappled with, addressed, so people don't just spiral into, loneliness, addiction, mindless scrolling, or worse.
So, kind of talking a little bit more about the mental health, we talked about the mental health of going out on your own, figuring out who you want to be when you grow up at every age of your life, you know, um,
Yes, I do
having
know.
children,
Very familiar.
yeah, having children who have to figure
Mhm.
out who they want to be when they
Yep.
grow up.
Yep.
And you have a child who decided she wanted to help other people figure out who they are. And
Two
you
children.
They're both in.
Both my daughters have 4 degrees in psychology between them, and one has a
Wow.
human development degree. They're both in behavioral health. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm super proud of them because I'm not sure what's more important, you know?
Exactly. So, what kind of conversations have you had with them about behavior health today and in the future, and what's needed and what's going on? I know your one daughter wrote the book.
Yeah, I don't think I've had specific conversations with them about what's needed, in the future. Although, my daughter, who's the marriage and family therapist, did write a book. I didn't want to either, by Cody Koreshi with a Q. Just a little plug there. Um, for people who are hesitant about going to therapy. Um, I do know I've had conversations with her about, certain hardships she had in her life growing up with me as her parent. And I approached it as, oh, gee whiz, I messed up. I could have done better. And she was just, well, you got to have some hardship in your life. Otherwise, you never learn resilience. And, I mean, she was just very matter of fact about it, that everything's fine because she learned lessons from whatever hardship she had. And that turned her into who she is today. So I kind of love that attitude. I think most people don't look at it that way. Maybe we all should look at it that way.
One of my biggest takeaways from this conversation is that resilience isn't built when life is easy. It's built by moving through uncertainty with intention. AI will continue to reshape how we work. The economy will continue to change. But our ability to manage our mindset, discover who we are, and find purpose, regardless of our circumstances, will always remain deeply human. If this conversation challenged the way you think about leadership, identity, or resilience, I'd love for you to subscribe and leave a comment or share this episode with someone who's navigating change. Those conversations are exactly why this podcast exists.